Hey, today I'll be talking to you about branching in C++. So branching is all about the flow of control. So flow of control is useful because we as programmers, we want to control what the user can do or see in a program. In order to do so, we must establish different branches to control what happens when a user presses a certain value. To do this, we must use certain branches called if and else and switch statements. Um, so if statements, the if statement is an essential part of coding. It is used to test a condition to see if the code inside true or not. Though we must be aware that um, the conditions that we set don't exclude or include values we don't want. So the example here is if x is greater than or equal to 10, print greater than 10, and this would be wrong because it should not be including equals if we want to say it's greater than 10, because clearly it can still be equal to 10. So the if-else statement is basically the same thing as a if statement, but it has the added else if underneath. It also has an else at the end if you need it to, but anyway, so it basically just checks the conditions in a row, and if the first one isn't met, it checks the second condition. If the second condition isn't met, it checks the next one, and it goes on and depending how many you have. So for example here, if these were your houses on the left, and you had keys, and you wanted to check your key to see which one was your house, if in an if statement, if you checked the first key and it didn't work, it'd be over. But if you use like an if else statement, then you can check, okay, if this key doesn't work at this house, you could check the next house. And then so forth, you check the next house, check the next house. And then if you ever got to else in that example, then you would be sleeping on the street, because if your key doesn't work with any of these conditions, any of these houses, then, you know, nothing, you have no house basically on the street or on this block, you're in the wrong spot. So we also use switch statements. So the switch statement is another type of branch we use when we want to compare a variable to a constant value. For example, if the day of the week is input as 1 through 7, and we ask the user for an input. When they type 1 through 7, we want to take that variable and compare it to the cases we have assigned. So here's switch further explained. A switch requires you to use like the break function uh, out of every case if you don't want them to link cases. So for example, if you forgot to put a break after case 1, then case 2 would run as well. Another thing you want to look out for is that you should have a default case where no value was found to be in the case is set, and then the program informs you or the user that the case was invalid. So just branches in general, using if, else, and switch statements in combination with each other, sometimes nested even within each other, grants the programmer to have complete control how the user navigates a program. For example, for like a game or story, this is crucial to get a user to pick their own path and have unique dialogue or scenes depending on their choices. Maybe the user decides not to go in the witch's hut, or maybe they never got a choice to. So yeah, that was branching in C++.